not there anymore.
Well, where it was, you got a scar right there.
We still good on C9 right here?
But that's up to you.
Still show a red border?
Yeah. I'd show you my feet.
Oh, we should have plenty of time.
I'd show you guys my feet.
Well, you know,
They want to see it.
but go ahead.
All right, let's go back to your question.
Okay. So this might turn into maybe too long of a story, but I
Keep it
hope it
short.
does, and I'll try
Reader's
to
Digest version.
digest. Okay. Okay, in 1973, the very first encounter or whatever, it was actually turned out to be an abduction with myself and four of my friends. And I noticed a few days later that in my right foot heel, on the back of my heel, there was like a lump, and I could actually move it around. It didn't hurt. It was just like a lump, that stuck out, what, a quarter of an inch or something. And it didn't hurt, never gave me pain or anything. But um, for the next 25 years, I had all these close encounters and sightings and experiences that were just me alone and me with other people and me with my wife. One incident occurred where we thought it was interdimensional, and then but when I went to go see a podiatrist in 1998 because I had bone spur in this foot, and so naturally they want to look at your feet, both of them. So he noticed the lump, and he was questioning me about it. Does it hurt? Look at this. It moves around. Do you remember how you got this? And all that. No. What were my answers? So he said, tell you what, while you're here, let me take care of that. I said, okay. I didn't know what it was. So when he did the operation on the heel, and he cut the skin above it, and he pulled it apart. He saw what appeared to be like a white pearl type object that was in the foot, but it wasn't attached to anything. But before he cut it, he could move it with his finger, and he was surprised. He had never seen any. So anyway, he proceeded to remove it. When he took his forceps and he stuck it into the hole in the heel, the object itself moved away from the forceps. And he goes, "Oh, my God, it moved." Now here I am. I'm freaking out saying, what? What are you talking about? So so he says, okay, I got it. I'm taking it out. And he's looking at it. He's going, my God, I've never seen anything like this. So what he did was he put it on a silver platter, and he took a scalpel and he cut it in half, and he opened it, and then he showed it to me. What it was it was not attached or anything, and it was like a white pearl. It was kind of grayish white. And when he cut it in half, I could see inside that there were like veins running through it. They didn't bleed or anything, nothing, no fluid or anything. It was like dry or whatever. So he says to me, I'm going to send this off for analysis. And so he told me, he said, I'll be in touch with you. And when I get result back, you'll hear from me. I said, okay. So I went on my way. After that, when that was removed from my heel, the close encounters of the third kind ended. Okay. However, I went back after 3 months after not hearing from him, and I went to his office, to the building itself. And when I pulled up and went to the door and looked in, it was empty. Everything was gone. Now, usually when a physician moves, they leave a sign on that door that says, now we're now here. We moved to here. Or they send you a letter because you're a patient.
They
This
send you
guy,
to another practice.
yeah,
If they
or
close up, but
yeah, none of that happened. So I'm like, oh my God, what happened to this guy? So now I have my suspicions that this podiatrist was taken out.
He fooled with what they had going on.
Yeah, and so and they wanted that. I'm talking they, the government. So anyway, after it was taken out, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind ended. I never had any more of that. However, because for 25 years I had been involved in all this wild, crazy stuff, I was now, I think, in tune mentally with them, because I could see things, or that other people didn't see, but I could see it. So, and that's kind of how it's been since then. I've had a few sightings, um, and other people were there too. So it wasn't just me in my head, and all that. So that's the story on that. But yeah, I had an implant. It was taken out, and when it was taken out, all that ended.
And I saw his foot. He showed me his foot. He does have a scar.
Why don't you show them the picture rather than me
No, it's
showing my
actually-
foot? I mean, I can do it. You guys want to see my
Yeah,
foot?
yeah. Once you
Do
show
you
your
want
foot,
to
once
see
you
it?
see it.
Do
Yeah.
you all want to see it?
Yeah.
Line up here. It'll cost,
I
line
talked
up
I
here.
talked
It's
him
going
into
to
it.
cost you a quarter.
Nobody
Oh.
wants to see my feet too. I can tell you
Hey,
that.
If anybody wants to see my socks,
Hey, remember
Believe
remember
me.
the freak shows at the fair? Get your quarters out. Come here.
take a look.
I don't know how. I don't know if this is gonna work, but it was like right here, right back here.
It's good.
I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see it. Look, I can't twist it around, but it's kind of right there. And you can kind of see where the skin looks wider, right in here. Can you see it? You guys? No, we don't see it.
Yeah, it's really small. But when he showed it to me up close, I
But
was able to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
That
one,
was-
Okay, I want your quarters.
one thing
Thank you.
that
Oh, here. Here.
everybody up here, as well as
Oh,
the
wow.
other interviews
I can
for
see- I
both
can see
season
it
1 and
on there.
season 2, you'll find that
Let me get out of here.
it's rarely just one incident. Once somebody has one incident, they have more incidents, more encounters. Do any of you have theories on? Is it? Do you think it's because it's you? Is it because you're certain in tune?
Hard to say. Like I said, I've got friends who did not really ask for this and wind up suffering from it a lot. But I think that the people who are involved, whether it's causation, correlation, they seem to have intuitive abilities, and maybe that's natural. Maybe that's something that just sort of grows when they interact with these things. But I think that there's certain types of people that seem to be involved, and I don't honestly, like personally, I don't understand what my particular role might be in this whole thing, but it's something that has been ongoing for quite a while. I think back into my childhood, there were various incidents where I just kind of wrote things off. Hard to say, honestly. I honestly don't know what this is all about, and why people get chosen the way they do.
And I've had, obviously, right. I'm doing this docu series. I had the Incredulous Case prior. I've had a lot of people reach back out since Encounters came out on Amazon. These are, and every one of them, I'll ask, because they're sending me private messages or emails, and I'll ask, look, would you like to go on camera and tell your story? No, they're not looking for the publicity. They're contacting me to tell me their story, to get it off their chest, because Mark's story was so similar, or Dave's story was so similar, or they see stuff like this, or they're similar to what Sean or Marion, or any of these interviews, they've had something that resonated with them that they've experienced themselves. But no, they're not looking for the publicity. They don't want anything to gain. Some of them are in UFO groups. Some of them are not at all. So they're staying away from it as far as possible. But they saw the series, and yeah. So this is not something that's for crazy people sitting up in front of these tables. It's something that's happening to people that aren't looking for anything to gain at all. In fact, they would rather not have anybody know. I mean,
I know
we,
lots of people like that.
Drew, we've have a common person that at first she was unsure, and they came out. So I find that very intriguing. That means it is. I'm not trying to downplay the word I'm about to say here, but it's kind of like the rape victim. You have rape victims. There's plenty of rape victims that have not come out. I think we've had many people that have had some type of encounter, some type of experience. They're not going to come out with it because they don't want to go through that. But on that brief moment after seeing something that resonated with them, they at least wanted to get something off their chest that they felt comfortable that, myself, I've seen somebody comment on one of your posts, Mark. Each of y'all have had people
Yep.
Come to you.
Reach out.
I think that it is at least resonating in that direction that, yeah, they're realizing they are not alone. That's something else that other people are experiencing stuff.
And me and Claudette, we during the pandemic, we started putting things together, and we said, you know what, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. And sure enough, it was the year. So what's next? Well, next thing is going to be probably a landing of some time. And we were talking about that. I talked to a lot of abductees, and sometimes they will get powers that they didn't have before. A lot of them have photographic memories or total recall memories. They also tell me a lot about numerology. Numerology is a big thing. The number 7, lucky, right? Lucky 7. Come on, 7. Well, it's not just that. There's a lot of things with the number 7. But this year, July 7. Uh, if you add up 2023, 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 3 equals 7. So we were thinking this is going to be a good year. Um, Something's going to happen, and uh, and sure enough, it did. Is it related? I don't know, but did it happen? Yeah, it did. It's just very strange. But now that we're seeing them more and more, yeah, I've had some times too where when I saw my triangle out there, I was like, this might be my time. It might be just my time. But I was like, but my job is to get the best video I can of it and go from there. That's kind of my thing, is to take that blurriness out and to say, hey, I got something too, or you got something too. What do you? And
That's one difference I think that we're experiencing now is we have people that are trying to document it,
yeah,
and they're trying to be at the ready. We do. A phone's just not going to do what these cameras do.
right,
We know
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
Even if it can shoot 8K, the pixel density is just not there.
right. And I tell people
The
too.
lens quality is not there.
Yeah, and my gig is this. How many phones do y'all have at home that you're not using? 1, 2. Okay. Well, if you can get one of these phones down here. Now, granted, I don't make a whole lot of money, and I would love to have a camera like that, but I don't want it to get rained on. I don't want to get knocked over, by the dog going out there. So my gig is somewhat. And I agree with you. I would love to have your camera, but I can't afford it. Right? I can afford the Samsung S22. I get a lot of my stuff on here, but that Samsung down there. We had 3 of those. I have caught UFOs on all 3 of my different phones. I've caught UFOs on these phones. Somebody gave me an old iPhone 5. Great. It does 60 frames a second, 1920 by 1080. Nice. Anything over that, my computer won't even edit it. But I'm getting there. So if you've got an old phone at home, hey, by all means, I can show you how to do it. I got him hooked up already over there. So Dave, you're pretty well set up, but I just use different apps, and that's kind of the thing. But the reason why is because we're looking for it now. So anybody who at least wants to try it, I'd be more than happy to talk to them and get them set up and go from there. But it's the evidence that we're trying to get without the conspiracy that a lot of groups try to throw in there. I don't say where they're from, why they're here. I do know why they're here mostly is to just check on us so we don't blow up this world. That's why they hang out in missile silos. They hang out over bases. They do stuff that prevent us from blowing up.
There are lots of nuclear plant sightings.
Mhm.
Middle of October, I'll be doing another interview near a nuclear plant sighting where they see them pretty much every night. And while I do the interview, we're going to have the long lens on the camera, see if we can get up close and personal with it.
And if anybody wants to start off in this line, I highly suggest The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch on the History Channel, right? History Channel.
I think so.
Yeah. The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch.
Never seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been to Skinwalker Ranch
You been to Skinwalker Ranch?
when I did the interviews back in October last year. Sure did. Went by there.
Wonderful. Okay.
Filmed over top of it. Didn't see anything.
So Skinwalker Ranch is the real deal too. Everything that happens on there, the equipment that they use, I use, and so my main, like I said, my main gig is just trying to get anybody say, hey, you want to use my phone? You can download some stuff. I'll look at the video. I've done that before. I had a guy in Florida, Mark Fiorentino. He's a scientist. He's like, I'll put the GoPro up if you'll look at the video. And of course, I found objects. So,
Any other questions?
yeah.
I have one for them.
Oh, I know what it is.
Oh.
So
There's-
my question to you guys, you reporters here, is: have you watched any of the? Have you seen any of this series yet? Have you watched it? Have you watched it?
Seen a few clips, but it's the first slate for me, so it's the grand.
Okay. If you hang on, Amazon you have to pay for it, but it'll be on Tubi before too long. It's been picked up.
Have you guys ever seen anything that you can't explain that you wouldn't mind sharing? It's all right. It's not a big deal. We were just talking about stigma, weren't we?
You know what this feels like? This feels like when you're at church. If you'd like to come up front.
Because, and you know what? You're the one getting red.
Yeah, as far as, do y'all have any other questions? We're hitting the hour and a half mark.
Yeah. But we appreciate y'all being here too. And that's really the thing, because the more people that we tell, just the layman that we tell, it's easier for them to understand. You know, I can go up to the lady who pays me in the office at the radio station, and I say, "Hey, Teresa, you want to see my latest?" Yeah. And she's like, "Yeah, you got that above your house?" I sure did. And she's like, "Yeah, well, we saw something back in, this day or whatever." And like, all right, that's awesome. And just, hey, just appreciate you telling me. That's what it's all about, because that way it's easier, makes it easier for me to tell people more.
I have another question.
Yes.
This thing,
The triangle.
so some people have said, well, maybe that's is an Air Force
TR3B?
something or another.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, because I had a circulation director at the paper a couple of years back. He's not employed there anymore, but he kept coming and said, "I'm seeing this over my house a lot," and he lives near Seymour Johnson, and so one of my coworkers who was in California saw a similar craft. So, do any of you believe that that there's a possibility that that some of the things that we've seen or that people have seen,
Sure.
maybe experimental advanced aircraft that the United States or others may be working on?
Yes.
Mhm.
It very well could be.
Mhm.
I will say this. The person you work with, this was that the only thing it could have been at that time would have been a stealth, which is now old technology, really, right? I've got
This is just such a slow moving craft.
Right. That's the only thing. The whole family talked about it. Which low altitude, when you get out toward California, the Mojave Desert, Edwards Air Force Base, yeah, they fly low. They don't care. They fly. We can't fly as low here because we have tundra swan that fly over it this time of year, and they're big birds, right? But I've had another one toward Fayetteville. We have another military base, an air base down in Fayetteville. Triangular, almost at a standstill. Well, I take it back. It was not triangular. It was brick shaped. It was rectangular with depth to it, though, not flat. Lights on each corner. But I've had several with the triangular shapes, and that's a common thing. Now, devil's advocate. Let's go to the skepticism side.
Yes.
On an airplane, you're going to have triangular lights, tips of the wings, and the front too. The thing is, just like the Phoenix lights, while the Phoenix lights became famous for 6, 7, 8 of those lights going over top of Phoenix back in 96, 97, there was an abundance of people that said they had a triangular shaped craft fly over their neighborhood, and they know it was triangular shaped. It wasn't a plane because it blackened the stars, and it was not part of the lights that look more like flares. The stuff the video footage of the lights over Phoenix is very similar to what you can go see at the Outer Banks with the military flares off the coast. It really is. They fly up and they hover for a while, and they'll finally blink out at the end. I've got some great footage at Body Island Lighthouse of the flares back there because I'm running a long exposure, and I get the swoop from it. Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with the Cash Landrum incident from the 90s? No. Okay. This was two elderly women and a young boy who were driving just down this desolate road at night, and a diamond-shaped craft actually came right down out of nowhere and hovered over the road and not far from their vehicle. I'd say within maybe 50 feet or so. And they could see, there was like a window in it, and they could actually see what appeared to be a guy in a military outfit, like at controls or something. And this thing, it irradiated like heat, and kind of like fire came out from the bottom. And they got out of their car because their car died. It killed their car. And the one lady, Mrs. Cash, she ended up with cancer and died. And the other lady was older, Miss Landrum, and they got back in the car. They were scared, and when she put her hand on the dash, her hand sunk into the dash because the heat was so intense that they had burns on them too. And the other two people, the one lady did pass away from cancer, and the other lady eventually died. The only one left was the kid, and I think he's still alive, but they all had burns, but the one lady severely, her hair fell out. And one of the weird things about this was all of a sudden there was like 25 black helicopters came swooping in all around it, and they like escorted it away. And so that goes back to what you were talking about, Bill, about the military being like with the triangular thing. Is it military? This was a case where obviously it pretty much was, and they were probably back engineering a craft that they may had attained through a crash or something. And so they actually went to the local Air Force base, and I forget what state it was in. There was an Air Force base locally. They went and they made a report, but nothing ever.
But and that's one thing we to kind of put in context is a lot of these sightings, when you see something in the sky, typically, let's say I see 3 lights up there and they're blinking. My mind's going to, as airplane, and I'm going to brush it off. I'm not going to think anything. It's when something happens, like it darkens the stars and it's moving so slow. The one from Evan where the craft goes just 100, 200 feet above the trees. I said, well, how do you know it's only that high? Because it's only twice as high as the trees, you know. And is it a blimp? You know, you're trying to reason through it. Believe me, I tried to figure out if it could be a blimp. It's not a blimp. Our common person here, I asked them, was it a blimp? Was it a helicopter? It can't be a helicopter when it's going really slow and then goes straight up and disappears. Helicopters don't do that. They land. They don't go away. So your mind is trying to say, yeah, it's this or that until it's not, and then that's when you're in the bewilderment part. You don't know, and you try to rationalize it as much as you can until you can't. If that makes sense. I know I spoke in circles right there.
Well, now you probably haven't seen my triangle, right?
How large? I think it's what appears to be a crown.
Well, would you like to see my triangle?
But you get that set up.
I'll show you my triangle.
So the triangle that we're talking about here, they were talking the size of a baseball field, and a baseball field is a good vision of it because a baseball field is almost like a triangle. You know, we say that the baseball diamond, that's the base paths, not the actual field. But the baseball field is like that. If you how about mute it real quick?
Yeah.
Let me.
So yeah, these are big craft, and the same craft that Evan saw in Ohio, it was a big craft. He ran from his pool to his side yard trying to watch it until he lost it in the tree. Marion had one. He's got some footage of it. He is coming toward him and lands in the backyard. It's obviously a smaller craft if it lands in the backyard. The brick-shaped craft from John Doe, he remained anonymous, and I try to respect everybody's words on this. Everybody got to see their footage before I released it. It's a complete interview, so it's from the moment I turn the camera on to the moment I turn it off. Except there's spots where you'll see them talking and there's no audio. It's because they're talking about a family member or a loved one or something like that, and then they had second thoughts. I shouldn't have said his or her name. And I'll show that we didn't script it, that it continued to talk, but out of respect for the privacy of the family member or privacy of the conversation, we've omitted this 5, 7, 10-second audio. Yeah, the John Doe, the brick shaped one.
What I saw was a triangle.
Right.
It was a very dark night. It was covering over a field. It was humongous. It was at least the size of a baseball, full, baseball.
And not a major league field either. We're talking like Gillette,
Right.
a little league baseball field.
This thing was big, and there was what made it strange. You had 3 lights at each point, perfect triangle, moving very slow across the field, but you could not see the stars through it. It was a very dark night. The stars,
It had depth to it. It wasn't flat like a stealth fighter.
Right, I couldn't see a shape. I couldn't see the form, but there was the not presence of stars coming through it. So
You had
there
black
was
void.
something.
You saw black void.
Right. Yeah, I could never explain it. I had a couple friends with me. We're coming back from the beach in between Snow Hill, Stanksburg, and I saw this thing over the field, and I woke them up and said, "Hey, what is this?" And none of us could explain it. They're like, "Well, it's an airplane." You tell me that's an airplane? That's not an airplane. And we all started sitting there and watched it. Yeah. I slowed down and stopped, and I sit there and watched this thing, and it's
Like that?
We've got a triangle here that Les has got. I'm gonna step out of the way too.
So this is my siding right here. So let me bring it up. I'm gonna turn on the audio so you can hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn the lights off here a bit.
Can you turn that one just that way?
This one?
Catch them like go around.
No, let me turn this up so you can hear it.
Back in?
Perfect. Thank you.
This is how it blinks. So an airplane would be.
They blink red and white, airplanes do.
And if you slow this down, look at how this starts to get weird right here. It starts to kind of turn. And if you want, you can kind of come up here. Look, this is on my YouTube channel, by the way, too.
That's
Yeah. So that's my triangle. Now, if you want to see, let me see. What's going on? I'll show you something that will that you might not believe at all. This. Wow. Look at this. Come take a look. Come up close. Yeah. You know what's this? Wow. Oh. There's one, two, and there are two red ones. They're blinking. Okay. So there's that, which is nice. You know, I got go back to my YouTube channel here. Go back over here.
Show one more list.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you know what? I'll put something out of this. Actually, let's do that. And let me show you some screenshots. There's that one. There's triangle. And there's that one. And then there's oh, where's that at?
December, January,
I got it here, sorry. It's that one. This right here is the.
Is that in the day?
Yes, this is in the day. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, let me go back over here. I've got. If y'all want copies of these pictures, by all means, I'll give you as many copies as you want. I'd be more than happy to just give them to you. And let's see. UFO. Best files organized. Okay. Here's my C-130 that was followed. See the C-130? That's in Arkansas. Tell me when you see the UFO. Didn't see it, right? Okay. Now wait. Let's bring this out over here. Oh, and see that little thing right there? This little thing up there just kind of moving around. This is my very first video. My very first video was an unknown from UFO. Yeah, there we go. So, you know, with all this stuff, there's so much evidence out there that I like to do a preponderance of evidence, or you know, an over exaggeration of evidence. And I tell people, if you don't understand, just pray about it. Really, just pray about it. That's what it's all about. I mean, what would you say, Bill?
I mean, the triangle is a common shape that that people see. I haven't seen one, you know, with my own eyes. Most people haven't, but the ones that have experienced it, yeah, a lot of people report triangle shaped UFOs as far as that goes. Military or not, possible, but I have interviewed people and had people contact me that have seen them well before the stealth fighter was even a thing.
Yeah.
And throughout the country, most stealth fighter sightings, remember when they were the stealth fighter was first being flown out of Edwards, that we had a lot of news reports about UFOs in California and stuff like that. And then the military finally came out and said, "Yeah, this is our new stealth fighter that radar can't pick up, and this and that." But well before then, we've had some of that information.
What I saw was besides
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
three lights. Just I could tell if there's three helicopters flying in formation.
Oh.
And see, that's part of the thing. Your brain is trying to rationalize what you're seeing. It must be three different objects. It's got to be helicopters because they're moving so slow.
Yeah, that right there wasn't a small object. If you because each frame, if you guys know about frames per second, I exported 60 frames or a few thousand frames or whatever, so I can look at each one of those, and you can actually see other lights that come up in the formation. So yeah,
That's another thing that Les was talking about there. A lot of times, if we shoot like 24 frames per second, like a regular video, you may not capture it.
hmm
It's the higher frame rates,
Mhm.
the 60s, the 120s, because some of these are so fast.
yeah, they're
And again, rationalizing things,
Mhm.
I start going, okay, these are very inferior lenses, right?
yes,
You also have very inferior covers that go over the lenses. Do we have, is it an artifact from the moon, a star, Pluto, the sun, whatever, that where you're getting a flare? The thing is, it will move while that
The flare
object stays
stays.
still.
The flare stays
So
still.
that kind of plays into it too. It makes it questionable. What it is, I don't know. That's beyond my knowledge. All I can do is report what people saw.
No, LES.
LES.
Durant, Durrant.
Durrant. Yes.
Hey, what? First, I guess next. Thank y'all for coming.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
uh,
Thank you.
Mark and Dave and Les. We're gonna cut
Yes,
the
thank you.
cameras, and then if y'all have any questions, go for
What's
that.
Dave's last name? What was Dave's last name?